So let's call the Barabar Caves the Egyptian caves. So let's call this prowess Egyptian prowess. The prowess of the Afro-Egyptians seems incredible. It seems unbelievable that they could create all this around the world, that they could have traveled as well. One recognizes without hesitation their indisputable authorship, their clear, certain signature in all of their achievements, the meter. The meter, but also the sophisticated techniques for melting granite, making concrete, use of sacred geometry and the constants pi, phi, and the royal cubit. The Egyptians didn't disappear. Faced with the deterioration of the climatic conditions in Egypt, they migrated massively with their knowledge to India, where hundreds of temples were born. It would seem that the works were carried out in collaboration with the local population, given the scale of construction in Asia. In any case, the supervision and architectural design is Egyptian. The Egyptians did everything to keep their knowledge secret. The local population was not to know.
Our history is written from the narrative of someone who copied from someone else's narrative and so on, which leave much to be desired about the truth of things. However, the Egyptians did not leave writings, but left their digital signature everywhere in the world. They are building with the matter. It is their genetic code.
The assumption is that at this point an apocalypse occurred, around 2100 BC. A very powerful earthquake. The continent in the middle of the Atlantic, Plato's Atlantis, sank. Gigantic tsunamis rose. In Central America, entire cities were swept by the waves in minutes. The whole of Egypt was brought down by this tremor, which caused the granite coverings to fall off of the Menkaure pyramid. The Ipuwer papyrus describes an apocalyptic landscape. All good things are gone. There is not one black fingernail left. The plague hit the whole country. There is blood everywhere. The river is blood. The country is without light. All over Earth, the remains collapsed except the most massive. The whole planet was shaken. Ocean levels rose. Coastal towns were overwhelmed by the waters in a few days. Civilizations recovered slowly from this cataclysm. Thales of Miletus, Pythagoras, Plato, Solon, Archimedes, Hippocrates, and hundreds of others stayed for 15 or 20 years in Egypt, not like tourists on vacation, but to acquire knowledge in the land of light. They went home with a few crumbs of knowledge that they taught when they returned to Greece. Let us remember, the Egyptian priests fooled Herodotus concerning the construction of the pyramid with cranes. The Greeks extracted from the Egyptians some formulas on concrete manufacturing and some architectural bases to build their first temple. The architecture of the Temple of Djoser, built 2,400 years earlier, was faithfully copied by the Greeks. The Athena Temple, the Parthenon, and Erechtheion were made of limestone concrete. The marble was also cast and not cut. This process was copied later by the Romans. But that was not enough for them, because the Egyptian savants did not reveal much. It was becoming crucial for the Greeks to get their hands on Egypt. All united around Alexander of Macedonia, the Greeks left to invade Egypt. After Alexander defeated the Persians in Granicus, his primary objective was to invade. No, Egypt. For the Greeks, Alexander deserved his name, the Great. After his death, his best friend Ptolemy settled in Egypt as king and never again returned in Greece. It's as if the head of the village became the head of Silicon Valley overnight. Such were Greece and Egypt at that time. His children, his grandchildren, entire Ptolemaic dynasties reigned in Egypt. Certainly, the Greeks would not have chosen to settle in the Third World. The Romans took their turn at seizing this knowledge, built their cities and their empire. We hear about cement and Roman concrete, but before being Roman, this concrete was Egyptian. Hundreds of Roman temples were quickly erected all around the Mediterranean Sea. The construction of the Colosseum lasted 10 years. To the west, the Roman Forum was completed in 8 years. It would have taken at least 200 years to build them out of carved stones. We know how to recognize a poured stone thanks to the insertion of an object which has no place being there, as in the example of the Pyramid of Medum. Lugdunum, now known as Lyon, there is ancient theater built during the reign of Augustus. On this site we see granite, limestone, and andesite blocks. They are arranged in a precise way like in Cuzco and like in Egypt, where a sheet of paper could not be slipped between them. These are amalgamated ores and poured in geopolymer concrete. At the very back, we find stones of the building containing pieces of iron. They were incorporated while the concrete was still fresh. The Greeks used a similar technique. They incorporated an iron frame to reinforce the concrete. Here is Baalbek, whose immense stones cause so much ink to flow. These famous stones do not belong to distant ancient civilizations. The Baalbek stones are part of the temple. They were poured on site by the Romans, like the rest of the temple. They were neither cut nor moved. 600 meters below is the stone of the pregnant woman. Below and next to it are 2 other stones of the same size in limestone concrete. These are the foundation of a new temple in continuation of Baalbek, but this project was abandoned. It is the work of the Greco-Romans and not that of a civilization which disappeared 12,000 years ago. The entire Roman Empire was built of limestone concrete. The Egyptians' technique to melt granite remained secret to the general public. Like all the rest of the empire, Egypt was plundered in its turn. After the conquest of Egypt, many Egyptian obelisks were taken to Europe, mainly in Rome. Later, ignoring the significance of the stories carved on obelisks, they added their crosses.